My friend, not broken, disconnected. That's what I keep coming back to, because most of us are walking through life thinking that we need to fix ourselves, do more, be better, when really we've just gotten disconnected from who we are. Welcome to Mindset Medicine. I am Dr. Tanya Berfield, speaker, mindset strategist, and someone who believes that real change happens when we bring together science, soul, somatics, and a dash of hippie woo. This podcast is all about coming back to yourself, about learning how to know yourself, trust yourself, align your life, and lead with confidence, integrity, and real power. Some weeks, it's just you and me, diving into mindset shifts, nervous system work, and the patterns that keep us stuck in overthinking, overfunctioning, and burnout. Other weeks, I'm sitting down with people who are doing something just a little bit better than we are, whether that is leadership, parenting, money, health, or just how they're showing up in their lives. Not because they have it all figured out, but because they have found something that works, and we get to learn from that. So if you have been feeling overwhelmed, stuck, or like you are doing everything right, but something still feels off, my friend, you are in the right place. Hello, friends. Welcome back. There is energy in the room today. I am super excited to bring to you this guest that we've got. We have Dr. Lisa Campbell. She is a growth motivator, and I'm not even going to go into too much more because you're going to love hearing from her and we're going to love digging into this conversation. So hi, Lisa. How are you? Thanks so much for coming.
Hi, Dr. Tanya. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, you bet. We're really excited about this. This is what we do, right? Let's just start with tell us a little bit more about you. And the little bit of conversation that we have had before we started the recording tells me this is going to be fabulous. So I'm really excited about that. But why don't you just start by telling us who you are, and then we'll lead that into what do you do, how we got there, and all of the things.
Well, I'll keep it real simple. So I am known as the growth motivator. And really my focus is on helping individuals identify the invisible weight that they're carrying. And this is something that I realized in my own life that weight prevented me from moving forward. And so, in the work that I do as a growth coach, not a therapist, I really focus on three things: clarity, confidence, and self trust. And that's enough about me. Let's get into some
Oh,
questions.
I love that so much. Those are some of my absolute favorite words. So a lot of the work that I do is very similar. I am talking about how do we move out of performance and we move into presence so that we are living in our alignment and our own authenticity, all the trendy words, but still exactly what we need to do. And what you're talking about, so that clarity, confidence, and self-trust. See, I love them so much. I didn't even have to write them down. Those are awesome. So I'm really curious because, like I said, they are my favorite words. Like, what led you to get to that point where there's this growth motivator, which also I love that you call yourself that, and also to sort of triangulate on those three words. Like, what got you there?
So, when I think about clarity, I realized for a very long time I was operating as this successful healthcare leader. And I was just moving about life and thought I had it all figured out. And I realized I wasn't really clear about who I was. I was just doing what I had trained for, what I had gotten really good at. But I realized that there was more that I should be doing. And once I quit my full time job, that's actually where the clarity started to unfold. And simultaneously, the confidence came in because I realized I was allowing a full time job to hold me hostage. What was holding me hostage? The salary and the benefits, the comfort, right? Of having that money
Yep.
coming in every 2 weeks, taking vacations, doing all the things. And I realized that I had delayed quitting my job because I didn't trust that I could be successful without that job. So
Oh.
clarity and confidence and self-trust is not something that I just made up. It's
Mhm,
literally something that I realized as a result of number one, taking that big leap of faith, and then being
mhm.
on the other side of it, realizing, wait a minute, I was actually the talent, right? That university was lucky to have me, but
Yes.
and let me just tell you
Yeah.
how I know that they were lucky to have me. There are still people from that university on my LinkedIn page. I guess they're trying to see what I'm doing. Did I fail?
Mhm.
So I think they
Yep.
missed
They're
me.
still you mean they're checking you out and seeing what's happening? They're jealous too. That's the other side of it. They're jealous.
Well, maybe they lack confidence, right?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
I had been saying for years, I felt like there was more that I was supposed to be doing, but I wasn't sure what it was. And I allowed my whole identity to be healthcare.
Mhm.
And there's more to me than healthcare. There was more that
Yep.
I could offer the world, but I couldn't do it until I got myself together first.
Huh? There's so much to unpack here, and so much alignment in what I do as well. So, I think that what you're talking about in terms of clarity and confidence and self-trust, there's this other piece that I always talk about, and I hadn't really thought about it from the point I mean, I talk about self-trust, but I also think that I hadn't thought about it so clearly, is fear, right? Like, we know what we want, and so I think there's a fear of moving out, but I also think there's this narrative that, the stories have been written for us, or at least we think they are. This is what I often find with women. I'm curious if you find something similar. I find it with women more than men, is that we believe what we think the expectations are and that they have been set for us. Like, it is very clear to me, I'm saying this sort of in quotes if you're not watching, it's very clear to me that my parents wanted me to do these things. They had these expectations for me. And then when I go back later in adulthood and I say, I'm sorry, I can't do this or it's not working out, they're like, we never needed you to do that. That was never our expectation of you. I found that with myself, and I find that with a lot of women is we read, in quotes, the room and decided that's what was expected of us, and now it's time for us to fulfill that. So, said or unsaid, we feel like we have to fulfill this, and we're letting somebody down when we don't. Do you find something similar?
Absolutely. Well, you know what it is, Dr. Tanya? We are Gen Xers and
Mm.
we were raised by baby boomers.
Yep.
And they operated life in a certain manner, right? You work, you retire, you're supposed to travel the world. And
Mhm.
so for a while, I thought, okay, the key to success is to do that same path. And then I
Right.
realized, wait a minute, when you get older, it's difficult to manipulate around, so travel now, right? You
Yep.
don't have to work the same job for 40 years. You
In
can
a lot
go
of cases, you can't.
right. Because either they're getting rid of you or you're leaving.
Mhm. Mhm. My mom, she and I have this, I'm going to say argument. It's not really an argument, but we butt heads on this. And she and my dad are retired. So they are exactly what you just described. My dad retired from a railroad pensioned position. So they both get a retirement out of that. This is just how you succeed through life. And so if I am thinking about doing something different, or if one of my kids is doing something in a way that it's not going to lead them into this full-time job with benefits or whatever this looks like. She does not understand it, and it frustrates her to no end. And so as I've worked through my own things, if I start to talk about like, this is what I'm leaning into now, and this is what I want to try to do, she's like, don't quit your job. And finally I was like, but mom, do you understand? They can quit me any moment. Like, it is not like it used to be. They're not just going to let it go. If something happens or if a change comes or regulations change, there are lots of reasons that they can walk away from me and not think twice about it. I have to be prepared for that at all moments. That is the world that we live in now. It's not the same world that you had been living in. So I think that is probably just as hard for us to sort of break that pattern and move away from as well.
Absolutely. They don't get that mindset, right? I know you're into mindset
I totally
medicine,
am.
right? their mindset, but it makes sense. And I
Uh-huh.
used to criticize their mindset until I took the time to understand their mindset, right?
Always.
I think
Right.
about like
Always.
my grandfather was born in 1920, right?
Mhm.
So then, of course, he had, my father. My father was born in the 50s. So you think about what they had to deal with from a generational perspective. That's the way they operate, the way that they operate. And then
Yep.
oftentimes my aunts and uncles will say to me, I wish I would have traveled like you. And I'm like, but you're still able body and mind, so do it
Mhm.
now. And they're like, well, I feel like I'm too old. No, you're not. It's the mindset, right?
Yep.
They can't let go of it. But I've
Yeah.
realized that I just gotta keep my passport. I keep it on my desk. I just kind of
Look
keep
at
it.
you. It's right there.
I just keep it ready and I just
It's
go,
shove
right?
that in a bag. We're out of here.
I always say, if anybody wants me to come speak out of the country, just
I love that. Let's talk about self-trust a little bit. Like, exactly what does that mean to you? And what are we struggling with?
so I'll talk about one example of women that I coach who have the credentials.
Mm.
They have the certifications, credentials, degrees, all the things, the experience, but they are afraid to go to the next level in healthcare because that's all I know besides McDonald's.
Yep.
And I'm like, why can't you
One of
just
those two things leads to
yeah,
the other, McDonald's
yeah.
and healthcare.
Well, and actually, I know that you might have some younger viewers, so let me just
Yeah.
sidebar real quick about McDonald's. I tell people all the time, I was 16 years old. I was a manager at McDonald's. I learned how to manage people, resources, and
Oh,
all the
yeah.
things. It gave me the foundation, and I went to Hamburger
Yep.
University. So, um,
Nice. I love that. I
but
love that.
so hey, don't
Yeah.
don't sell those experiences short. I
Oh,
always say no
100%.
experience
Yep.
left
I did that
behind.
in a hoagie shop.
Wow. And see,
Yep.
it was a good experience,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. Mhm.
So back to the woman who, right, has all the credentials, has been successful in career, has gotten like to the director position, and the next thing is like vice president. And
Mhm.
they say to me, I don't think I'm ready.
Yeah.
I don't
I
have
don't know
enough.
how.
Right. I don't know how I'm
Mhm.
going to do it. And a lot of times I'll say to them, I'll just, sit on the Zoom like this with my hands crossed and I'll lay back and I'll say, so tell me what you do today at work, right? And tell me who you interact with. And I'm like, well, actually, you're doing the job. You just don't have the
Right.
title. And you need the title and to be fairly compensated for everything that you bring to the table. And they just
Mhm.
say, I don't think I'm there yet. Well,
Mhm.
you've been in this industry for 20 years. When are you gonna
Mhm.
be there? What are you waiting on?
Right. Yeah.
And then they laugh
Exactly.
and say, well, no, I'm gonna be retired by then. I'm like, so now is the time.
It is.
But but the other part of that is that unfortunately sometimes there are women who have made it to the top to the vice president role, but they don't send that elevator back down to help pull the next generation up.
I was
And so
thinking
one
about
of the things,
this. Yes.
yeah, and somebody wrote a book about sending the elevator back down. I'm a reader, just
Oh,
FYI.
no,
Love
same,
reading.
same. You'll have to tell me that book too. Yeah. Hmm. Oh, you got it there. Oh,
So
it's actually called
yeah,
Sending the Elevator Back Down. I love it.
it
I was
it
actually
is.
listening to a podcast this morning that's called White Feminism. That's not about white women necessarily, but it's about feminism that is not sharing the success with other women necessarily. It's, you create success in a way that's what traditional men would think is success. And then also not working together and empowering one another. So I listened to the podcast. Now I have to get the
Yes,
book.
and I think part of the struggle is the fear that
Mhm.
that person is going to take their spot.
Yep.
And actually, I say to people all the time, especially I'm an adjunct instructor and I tell my
Mhm.
students all the time, my goal is that you exceed my accomplishments. And
Right.
because I'm comfortable in what I'm doing and what I've been able to accomplish, I'm basically just holding the seat warm for you so
Mhm.
that you can step into that place. But a lot
Yep.
of people, they kind of like guard the
Yeah,
space.
but we're kind of created that, like, we're like, the system is created for us to do that, right? So this is what I'm finding very fascinating and what I'm really appreciating about your self-trust is that it's really the positive mindset spin of imposter syndrome, right? It's, I don't have the confidence, I don't believe in myself, I probably have the capacity, I probably have the competence, I probably have the skill set, probably have everything I need, and I'm set up to do this very well. I just am afraid to step out and do it. Therefore, I have this thing. And but I love that you're calling it self-trust because then you're starting to lean into it versus I feel it's like that forward backward thing. Like I could fall back into imposter syndrome or I could fall forward into self-trust. Ooh, I think Dr. Lisa, we just came up with a new talk between the two of us. It sounds like we're going to be co-doing something here, but I feel like there's like that's so important to find the positive spin on that. And I talk a lot about imposter syndrome and like being able to find that. And I don't know about you because that doctor that's in front of my name is 100% um, came from my lack of self-confidence and the fact that I first only had, I'm saying in quotes again, I only had an associate degree. Therefore, I don't have enough education to be able to talk, competently or from an educated standpoint. So then I had to get the bachelor's degree and then I had to get the master's degree and then I never needed any of those things. They're already there, but that's fine. Like I like that. I love the educations that I did, but I
Well,
also, yeah, go ahead.
I got my doctorate degree really so I can make more money at the university.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Money was a part of it, but for me it was about overcoming the imposter syndrome because I always felt like I was not enough and in order to be enough, I had to prove that I could do this thing. But I don't know about you. For me, the degree did not do it, as you would completely expect. You know what did it for me? Was turning 50. Because when I turned 50, I was like, that is it. I know things. I don't care what you have to say, and I don't care what you think about me anymore. I really do care, but I'm also not going to fall back and only do things that are going to make you happy. I'm going to tell you when I don't agree with you. And if you don't like that, that's okay too. I have a job to do, and we're going to do that. But when I turned 50, it was like this very weird, like crone era where like, here I am and I know what I'm talking about. So you better listen to me. My kids don't necessarily appreciate that, but also don't care about that.
Well,
So
they'll get over it.
yeah, they're fine. They're fine. So did you have any sort of reckoning around that as well? Or like, was there a time frame that became like you're past this?
No, I mean, literally, I don't think I ever suffered with imposter syndrome a whole lot.
Mhm.
I honestly, the earlier college, journey was literally about a means to an end, right? So
Mhm. Yep.
I initially got into healthcare as a medical assistant, and my manager, I was like, I could do her job. I managed at McDonald's. So what do I need to do to get this job? And they're like, oh, you need a bachelor's degree. I was like, okay. So then I got the
Do that.
bachelor's degree. And I was like, well, wait, I want to be a director. They're like, you need a master's degree. And this is what really piqued my interest about entrepreneurship. I got the master's degree. I was working at a public hospital in Chicago. There's only one, so you can figure out the name. And I applied for a higher position, but because I didn't have any political affiliations, I couldn't get that position. And the position was given to someone who didn't have not
Mhm.
only the degrees, they didn't even have the experience to do the job.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so that's what made me really dip my toe into entrepreneurship because I'm like, you know what? Okay, you don't want to pay me as an employee, you're going to pay me as a consultant.
Mhm.
I'm winning.
Good for you. I love that. I love that so much. So I think next, because you did that, right? You did that thing where you made that leap in a way that I'm sure was very scary, even though you were working on the confidence and building that. But how did you like, and you said something earlier too that struck a chord with me because it's very much what I have felt for years is that I've got this calling to do something. I'm not exactly certain what it is, but I know that I'm supposed to be helping people. I know that I'm supposed to be working with people. I know that I'm a connector of things for people and probably a motivator for people. And so how do I facilitate that? So how did you move from that spot of being in that position in the healthcare to moving into entrepreneurship and knowing what that looks like? How did you create the identity around that?
So first thing, let me just be honest about what was happening simultaneously.
Okay.
I found myself in a stage in life where I was unraveling to the extent that I was in the car crying, in the tub crying, sitting at my desk crying. For the ladies who are of a certain age, yes, I was going through the menopause, but I was in a meeting at the university with the dean. And I said to the dean one day, I said, I'm here teaching because of my healthcare expertise, but you are expecting me to do office hours with these students. I'm coming on with one of my areas of expertise is medical coding. So I show up to office hours with my medical coding manuals and I'm ready to talk about that. And then they get on the Zoom meeting and they're like, my entire life, I've been told that I wasn't good enough. I was told that I would never be able to get a college degree, right? So I'm in the office hours unpacking all of this, not talking about medical coding. And that's when I realized, outside of the menopause, that I was not supposed to continue down this path. And fear kept rearing its ugly head. And one day, sitting at the desk, I just made a decision. And I know it sounds cliche, but I decided to execute faith over fear.
Mm.
And simultaneously, I had to take us before I quit, because I wrote my letter way before I quit, but I had to take the time to really unpack my entire life. Like, why was I fearful? What unresolved trauma had I experienced in early adulthood, younger years? Unpack all of that so that when I did close that door, I left all of that other stuff behind it at the same time. Now, I will tell you, it took the course of about 7 years to really, really do it. But when I tell you I'm walking around this earth free, like a little butterfly. It's literally all because I took the time to unpack it all and not just accept like what I think a lot of us do. You file things away in the do not recall folder of life. And I didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, I have a crown of denial that I wear. Yep. Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. But I think what I'm hearing you say is that we have these repeating patterns because we know that we all have them. And then we continue that and we learn the lesson and we learn the lesson. We're actually not learning the lesson. We're just repeating the lesson because we didn't learn the lesson. And so at some point, you have to stop receiving this lesson, learn the actual lesson, cut the ties, do the healing work around it, and then you get to move forward in a way that's a little bit more possible for you. Does that sound
Absolutely.
true?
Absolutely. And I always want to point out that when you're going through that process, when you've made the decision, there's more for you, right? I found myself in what I guess the researchers call like the messy middle of my journey. And it was so messy, but it also was meaningful because I learned more about myself than I ever knew. Like, I
Yes.
was like, that is
Yes.
me.
Yep. And I also think too, when you're talking about these patterns, there's so much of it, there's another direction I want to take this, but there's just this comment too. There's so much of it that is from our lifetime, right? It is what we have heard, it is what we've been taught. But I think it also comes back to the lifetimes of those before us, because you and I, we were talking about our parents and our grandparents and the people that we've had in our lives. And I know that because my family also is very young. And so I know that my mom was 16, 17 when she had me. Girl wasn't an adult. Like, what did she know? She was still
Mhm.
learning from her mom, who was still raising kids. And so, she's taking what she's learned there. She's picking up the good and the bad. And then her mom did the same, and her mom did the same, and her mom did the same. And so it's that ancestral pattern that sounds like it's super hippie woo, but I'm telling you, it is not hippie woo. And like, we're recording this and it will be out a little bit later, but the episode of this podcast that aired, it would have been in the middle of March at this point, was about Akashic records. And I brought this woman on because it is a little bit heavy woo compared to a lot of the stuff that we talk about, but it is exactly those ancestral patterns that they will repeat until you stop and you hear what's happening and then you learn from it. And so I want to talk about your framework, and I'll compare it a little bit to this, to my framework, because I have one too, of course. And it is the mindset medicine framework. And so we are talking about recognizing, we are talking about surrendering to that recognition, rewiring it, and then manifesting what you want to have happen. So it is exactly what you were just talking about. Like, when you get to lay down that fear and put your faith first, you get to manifest what this looks like. And that's not just hippie woo. So tell us a little bit more, because you've got this framework with weight. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes. So over the course of seven years, when I was doing that deep dive into Lisa, right? Because before you can help
Mhm.
others, you really have to know who you are.
Mm.
I realized that many of us carry invisible weight, and
Mhm.
I've kind of coined the term seven types of weight, which are emotional, mental, historical, comparative, the highlight reels,
Yes.
procrastination, commitment, and physical. And so my mission is
Mhm.
using the seven types of weight. And again, I'm not a therapist. I like to say that I'm not a therapist.
Mhm.
I'm a growth coach.
Yep.
Really help individuals just kind of unpack very gently those things that are holding you back from living the life that you deserve, right?
Mhm.
And so it's really simple. We see it, we honor it, we evaluate, and then we decide to move on.
Oh my goodness. Our frameworks are totally aligned.
Amen.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. And it makes so much sense. You have a book around that, right?
I do. So I have a book
Yeah.
coming out September of this year, and the name of the book is Shed the Weight, Achieve Personal Growth by Shedding What No Longer Serves You.
I love that
And it
so
was
much.
it was created out of many years of
Mhm.
tears and self-discovery. So
Mhm.
it's not about the psychologist said this or that, right? Even though I did,
Right.
of course, because
Sure.
when you get a doctorate degree, you learn how
You
to
could
do a
do it all.
literature
Yeah.
review. So
You
I
do it all.
have, right, looked at the literature and saw like, wait a minute. I didn't make this stuff up. This is like a real
Mhm.
thing. But I wanted it to be in a way that everyday people could use it
Mhm.
and help get to the next level. So
Mm.
important to me because I see potential in so many people and they don't see it in them. And when we
Mhm.
just sit down and have a conversation, they're like,
Yeah.
you see a different version of me than what I see. And I always say that's because you haven't taken the time to know yourself
Yeah.
intimately.
Oh, and the things we have to say to ourselves are not things that we would accept somebody saying to our best friend. And so that changes everything too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. So what is a way, like, how do we start? Like, if we are stuck and we know that we need to do something different, where we want to make a leap, like, what are, even in the smallest things, how do we get started on that process?
So one of the things that I encourage everyone to do is to journal, is to literally get all of the clutter out of your head, right? Because it's
Mhm.
sitting there living rent free. It guides, like you're looking at your phone and you're like, oh, Tanya has this new book and Tanya has this podcast. And, but you don't really know that Tanya's going through XYZ
Mhm.
PDQ. But
Mhm.
Tanya's making it look easy. And so I
Yep.
always tell people to start with to unload how you're feeling. In fact, one of the individuals I'm coaching, she was like, I've been recording every day because she didn't want to write down. I told her recording in Zoom. She's like, I've been recording every day. And the more that comes out, more is coming out. And I'm like, that's
Good.
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 That's good, right? Because it's literally holding you back. And
Yeah.
I said, well, do you feel lighter? Not yet.
It's coming. It's
It's
coming. It's
coming.
like I always say it's like an onion. You got to peel back one layer at a time. As soon as you
Yes.
get one, you're not done. The next layer will be there.
Yes. And I always tell people, I laugh about this, but I wish that I could have just maybe 4, 5 weeks a year where I could
Mm.
just go away and sit and just continuously write all my thoughts out. And because I no longer have that full-time job, my creativity is just next level. I'm like, all the
Yes.
things that are coming up out of me that I've been birthing, I'm just
Yep.
like, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. And
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Right before we started recording, I said to you, I'm so jealous because when I have the space to create, amazing things happen. I just don't have that space. One of the things I did though is as I was wrapping up my doctorate degree, I went and did the graduation, came home, and I said to my husband, I need some time. I need a minute because that was hard. That was really hard. And I think we still had one son in high school. The other Oh yeah, our middle son had graduated the college the same week that I graduated with my doctorate degree, and the oldest was out. And so I was like, I need a minute. And so we are big. I'm going to say campers. I'm really a glamper. I'm not doing the hard stuff. I'm doing it the fun way. So I was like, I really just want to go camping for a period of time. I can't drive the truck and trailer, so how about you come up for a couple of days and then leave me there? And so we went to one of my favorite spots that's also here in Pennsylvania, and he and my parents both came for like 5 days, and my girlfriend came for a couple of days. And then I spent 5 days by myself with no cell service, no family. It was me and my dog. And it was the most amazing time of my entire life. The stuff that I read and then I created, and the relaxation. There's a little stream that runs through there. It's still one of my favorite places to go to. The animals that I saw, the questions that I could ask to the universe and get responses back. Oh, I
oh
want to
my
do it
God,
again. I need to do it right now.
it's, you know what? It's the best feeling. And even now, as I'm going on vacations and speaking engagements later this
Mhm.
year, I find that when I'm away from my environment,
Mhm.
I really just start to have all of these dreams and visions.
Yes. Yes. So my husband and I went to Florida just 2 weeks ago for just a really quick mini reset, just to have a couple of days. And I was explaining to one of my friends, my favorite time to meditate is on the plane. The minute we take off, I've got like Joe Dispenza is one of my favorites, and nobody will do it with me because I think it's a little out there, but I love his meditations. And so I am ready. Like, earbuds are ready as soon as that plane takes off. Like, everybody, I'm telling my husband, like, do not interrupt me. Like, nobody interrupts me during this time, because I just feel like there's something about that space that allows me to just like dive in a way that you don't get to do any other time. I
Yes,
love it.
you're disconnected, but I don't know if
Yes.
you heard this on the news where they were talking about forcing people to wear headphones, which they should. But they've made
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
internet so good that people are having Zoom meetings and all of that on the plane. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's
Yep.
literally my
I don't want to do
time
that.
where I can just, yeah, I don't
Right.
want to do that.
Yep. Yeah. No, I want to read a book. I want to listen to a podcast, and I want to meditate. That's it.
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
maybe bring me a snack.
yes, yes. But don't
Yeah.
bother me other than that.
Awesome. Nope. You are exactly right. I love that. All right. Is there any other little tidbits or things that we didn't talk about that you would like us to get across to the audience?
Yeah. So number one, I want to be honest about something because I think a lot of times
Mm.
people see us on podcasts and they think we have it all together. And I want you to know that we don't,
It's
right?
not true.
Every
It's not
day
true.
I learn something
Yeah.
new about myself. I
Yep.
make mistakes, but I have determined that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so
Mhm.
no matter what else happens in life, I am going to move full speed ahead. So my message
Love that.
is you have to just start. You owe it to yourself to start. Just
Mhm.
one little teeny step,
I
and
love
you'll be
it. So
surprised
true. Yep.
how far you can go.
So true. I love that so much. I think that you're exactly right. Okay. Where can everybody find you?
Yes. So I am on the internet all over the place. At
Nice.
Dr. Lisa L. Campbell .org. That's my website. But if you literally Google my name, you will find me, Dr. Lisa L. Campbell, the Growth Motivator. I also have a podcast, which I will be expecting someone to be on my podcast
I
with their
love it.
book. But
Nice.
it's 52 authors, 52 weeks, because I love to read and I love to learn and I love to grow.
Same. I think that's why we're so aligned here tonight. Thank you so, so much. I will put all of those links in the show notes. And when your book comes out in September, make sure that I get that so that I can push it out to the audience as well. So, Dr. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. This was such a great conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Dr. Lisa said it so simply, and I want to leave you with just that today. You owe it to yourself to start. Just one tiny little step. You'll be surprised at how far you can go. Not a plan, not a perfect moment, not one more credential, just a step. If this episode cracks something open for you, come and find me on Substack. My handle is just at Dr. Tanya Berfield. That is where I go deeper every week for the women who are doing all of the things and still wondering why you still feel like something is missing. And then also go find Dr. Lisa at drlisacampbell.org. Her book, Shed the Weight, is coming out. And so get that on your shelf for sure. All right. I love you. See you next week.